You're listening to Shawna and Lala on the radio, and right now we have Chanda Bell on the phone, and she is the co-founder and creator of Elf on the Shelf. Hi.
Hi, thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So tell us a little bit about Elf on the Shelf. I'm a little bit new to it because I don't have children. But my co-host Lala has a son who just turned 4, and the elf showed up at her house.
Okay, all right, awesome. Yeah, so the Elf on the Shelf is a tradition in which it comes with a children's book, and it's a story based on my own family's tradition. When I grew up with a little elf that Santa used to send to our home. And that elf would come at Christmas time, and we gave him a name. His name was Frisbee. And every day he would watch for Santa, and he became our best friend. And then so he'd watch during the day, and at night he would fly back to the North Pole and talk to Santa Claus. And in the morning before we woke up, he would fly back from the North Pole, and he would land in a different spot in the house. Uh-huh. So as children, we just came to love and adore our very own elf from the North Pole. And so from the very beginning, my mom had sort of told us, about the elf's job and that he was working for Santa Claus. And so when I grew up and became a mom myself, I was like, Mom, I want an elf to come to our house too, because it was just so much fun. And there were so many great family memories. I remember talking to the elf and telling him what I wanted for Christmas. And so my mom and I one day were just kind of sitting around the kitchen together, and I looked up and I saw our elf sitting on the shelf, and I was like, I wonder if Santa will give us permission, to write this story and share our little family tradition with the world. And so that's what we've done. We ended up self-publishing the book. We couldn't get anybody to do it. But of course, Santa sends us those elves from the North Pole.
Oh, wow. So you still have the tradition, obviously, with your own children. So
yes.
Is it different from when you grew up, or you move the elf every year?
Pretty much, yeah. So exactly. So the elves magically fly. So every night they go back and talk to Santa, and in the morning when they come back to your home, they found a different spot from which to watch. So of course they magically fly with their Christmas magic from Santa once they've been given a name and adopted by a family. And families can register their elf's name on our website at elfonthe.shelf.com. But yeah, actually we ended up with 3 elves. So my son came along first, and of course he had his first boy elf, and then my daughter came along and wanted a girl elf. So we ended up with a girl elf, and so we had a boy and a girl, Chippy and Snowflake, and then we had one more elf that ended up getting adopted. My daughter saw a video online and was very worried about this one particular elf that Santa had, and so we adopted him from the Elf ER, and so he is well and happy and good, and he's in a good, loving family. So we have 3 elves. All elves actually adopt the personality of the family. And that's a really important part of this, because any good tradition should just sort of fit what fits with that family, right? So right. For me and our family, our elf just flies to and fro from the North Pole. And when he comes back, he's usually in a different spot. Uh-huh. Every now and then my daughter will write a little note or a little message, and they may or may not respond. But it's a very simple tradition in our home. Whereas I know in lots of other families, and it is so much fun to watch, those elves have some pretty crazy personalities.
Yes, and that was what I was going to bring up next is for maybe future elves, because right now, our elf, we named our elf Cindy Lou. And
I love it. Okay, good at Christmassy.
Yes, and, her hands are sewn together. So is there going to be a future elf that, maybe you could make her wave or,
Well, again, the elves usually like their classic little pose where they just sort of sit with their knees up because, again, they're just watching. They love their hands together, though, because they're great for hanging over things. Like sometimes my elf hangs on doorknobs or Christmas tree limbs or all, fans, things like that. They love to hang on things, so they do like their little elf hands together. So it really does depend on the family and what works for them. But at the North Pole, Mrs. Claus does design all the clothing, the Claus Couture collection. She does design all that for those little elves to keep their hands together. But in some families, they decide that they want to separate their hands, and so those elves take on that personality and do that as well.
Yeah. So what does the future hold for Elf on the Shelf?
Well, thank you so much for asking. It's been really fun for our journey. I don't think most people know that we're still family owned. We're still technically considered self-published, which is sort of a crazy term in and of itself. But we are a small family business, and we have 85 employees who are all dedicated to Santa Claus and the magic of Christmas time and the magic of North Pole and creating joyful family moments. I mean, that's really what we do at its core. And so we have several other products that also imbue the idea of Christmas spirit and faith, hope, and love, the things that you want to teach your children about at Christmas time into our product. So we have a reindeer product, the Elf Pets reindeer, that's all about, loving this particular reindeer and teaching children the importance of love and caring. And that actually is the coolest product because clearly I had a great imagination growing up. And so anyway, with the little reindeer, when kids love on their reindeer, it's activating a little magic heart charm. And on Christmas Eve, that reindeer is going to grow full size and actually help pull Santa's sleigh. And then we have the little St. Bernard pup, Elf Pets of St. Bernard tradition. And that is such a fun product. Parents have so many opportunities within the storybook that comes with it to really talk about the essence of what we all want the North Pole to be and what we want Santa Claus and St. Nicholas to be, right? Full of faith, hope, and love and the spirit of Christmas. And so the idea in that book is that as children do acts of kindness, it's collected in the little St. Bernard's barrel. And those, acts of kindness are sort of built up, and it's what Santa needs as his Christmas cheer and his Christmas spirit to actually be magical at the North Pole and to actually make his Christmas magic. So it's about helping families have talking points during the season that really help imbue the spirit of the North Pole into what we all want to teach our children at Christmas time, that it's not all about gifts and it's not all about what they do. And then our newest product this year is just the funnest product called Scout Elf Express Delivers Letters to Santa. And it's one of those things that combines decorating the Christmas tree with holiday baking and your elf, all of these wonderful Christmas traditions into one. And so children get in this kit, along with a really fun storybook that explains why Santa needs these new letters to come to him. But it comes with full-size pieces of paper. And so kids with little hands can draw their pictures and write their notes. They write their notes to Santa or their elf. And then as a family, you bake that letter with Mrs. Claus Magic Press that comes in the kit. And it literally shrinks your Santa letter down to elf size. So it's easy for the elf to carry back and forth to the North Pole. So the elf will do that. He'll take your little letter right back to Santa. Santa sees it, and then you get the letter back. So now Santa's seen your letter, and it hangs as an ornament on your Christmas tree that you can keep forever. So for me, the excitement was the idea of one day having a Christmas tree, or my daughter would have a Christmas tree full of all the letters she ever wrote to Santa Claus. And of course, knowing that you had them and that your elf took them to the North Pole for you. And it really is such a magical product.
That is such a good idea.
It is really one of those things, as parents, we want to hold on to those moments and those memories. And every year, my mom always bought us a Christmas ornament as one of our traditions. And so to get to have our actual, letter we wrote to Santa as our keepsake ornament, I can't imagine anything more, of a keepsake, as the actual letter you wrote to Santa. And then the fun conversation. Imagine if we were growing up, I want a big wheel, I want a Cabbage Patch, and you would have all of that, as sort of a moment in time.
Yeah.
And for my own kids, we have a friend whose son, when he was 4, asked Santa for some fruit salad. So now he's like 8, and I think that would just be the best letter to pull out. Remember when you asked Santa for fruit salad? So just to have that kind of hang on your tree for a lifetime. So we are really excited about that and the way it interacts with the Elf on the Shelf. And again, just helps families spend time together at the holidays, because that's really what it's all about.
Right, exactly. Now, what do you feel about, the product going national and internationally and mainstream being sold in stores? I mean, you said that, you're just like a private little company, family company, and to have it in all these stores, or all these adoption centers, I should say.
Oh, yeah, great. Yes, good for you. Great terminology. You're right. So Santa uses stores as his adoption centers. You know, not everyone wants an elf, so we need to make sure they're going to good homes, and so he sends them to these adoption centers. And, you know, it's really been, I have to say, just a very special journey. I have to say that I feel like I'm doing exactly what I was put on this earth to do, that what we've had the opportunity to do is such a blessing. It goes outside and far and above anything I ever imagined. I was a school teacher for 6 years. My husband is still a school teacher. So we just never dreamed that our little family tradition, while we knew how special it was to us as a family, would really become, you know, sort of, it's every bit as, you know, families going to see Santa at the mall. I mean, it's what happens at Christmas time.
Yeah.
So it's been just such a blessing to be a part of that and hopefully help families spend time together and have conversations that they wouldn't be having, you know, if the elf wasn't a part of their holiday. So
Exactly.
It's a really special for us, for my entire family. We consider it a joy.
Right. Now, so what do we do if, like Cindy Lou, for example, goes to the same spot, you know?
Yes. So you know, elves match the personality of their family. So there's a variety of reasons an elf might go back to the same spot. Usually it's because they saw something that day before that really they wanted to get a better look at. They just thought that spot was cozy. So sometimes they come back to the same spot, but of course they always go back to the North Pole and talk to Santa. Sometimes it's just a favorite spot. Sometimes it's comfortable. There can be a variety of reasons why that elf returns back to the same spot.
Awesome. Well, Cindy Lou is still in the same spot, so.
Is she? Well, you know, you
is.
probably need to have a little talk with her and tell her you'd like her to see some other things that are going on, especially if there's something exciting happening. But yes, she might, you know, and some elves are just, you know, matching the personality of their family. They might just be a little, you know, kind of chill. That's good too.
Yes. Well, that's kind of how we are in the studio, you know? So.
I love it. Yes.
We're very
elves are
relaxed.
chill too at my house. I like it. Yeah, I can tell that from your conversation. I appreciate that.
So what has been your favorite pose that you've seen online, or maybe like one of your friends, or what's been your favorite, like, oh my gosh, you know, this is so creative.
I've seen so much. And you know what's funny too is when people find out what I do for a living, you know, on an airplane, you would be amazed. I mean, they rip out those phones and start showing you images and telling you about their elf name. And, you know, it really is like a member of the family. So I've pretty much seen it all. But I have to tell you, the stuff to me that's just the most moving there are some really heart-wrenching, really moving stories that people tell you about. So there's a little boy that follows me on Twitter, and he has osteosarcoma, which is a very serious bone cancer. And since we've been buddies on Twitter, you know, I've watched him have to go through amputations and some things like that. And to see what his elves mean to him and how, you know, that has been such an important part of his recovery and his, you know, his fight against this disease. It's things like that you're just like, wow, what we do is so much bigger than, you know, just the elf that talks to Santa. So there's tons of fun elf ideas out there, ways that the elves interact with families. I've seen all sorts of hilarious, fun, you know, I love it. There's one I have seen where the elf literally decorated the child's door. So the kid had to like bust through wrapping paper and tissue and balloons to get out of their room in the morning. And so just a lot of fun things that I think bring a lot of joy and laughter always makes me happy.
Yeah. These elves are very busy during the night.
They sure are. So we actually have a video out. It's called Scout Elves Don't Rest. It's a little music video about what the elves are doing at night right before they report back to Santa. So you can watch that on YouTube. You can also go to elfontheshelf.com and see that. But it is the cutest video. The elves are singing and dancing and telling us really all they're up to at night.
Yes, and we actually have the video up on our Facebook page as well.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Yeah, I think people will really enjoy it. It's one of the number one questions we get from kids. You know, what does my elf do when they're not at my house? And, even at night when they are at my house, what is the elf doing? And so Santa was kind enough to share some of the answers with us, and so we put it into a music video so kids and families could take a look. But we've gotten a lot of really fun responses from that.
Yeah. So I have to ask, how would Cindy Lou come down from my ceiling and hang there? I mean, does she have wires or?
It's Christmas magic, of course. Of Christmas magic. So, elves can be really playful, but of course, the second someone walks in the room, they've got to be still, right? They can't move in front of people. They have a very strict job for Santa Claus. They have to watch and listen.
Yes.
So they can't interact. They can't fly in front of kids. They can't do any of this. So we do have a kit. It's called Scout Elves at Play. For families, to inspire elves that may not be particularly creative, but they want to be, So Scout Elves at Play has all sorts of fun tools and fun ideas to inspire your elf. So that can take care of that problem too. But there's little, sometimes they use suction cups to help them hang better. Sometimes they use string to, I don't know, bungee jump off things. We've seen it all for sure.
Yeah. And so Cindy Lou doesn't have shoes yet. So can I buy her a pair of shoes?
Absolutely. So the Claus Couture collection in some cases have shoes, but Scout Elves at Play, that kit I was just talking about, does come with a pair of boots that will help her climb mirrors and refrigerators and all sorts of stuff.
Oh boy, she's going to be very busy.
She's going to be very inspired. I have a feeling she won't be in the same spot anymore. If you get her those inspiring ideas and tools, it'll make it super easy for her.
Yes, I have a feeling. I just don't need her messing up any of our equipment or, recording herself.
If you tell her ahead of time, say, these things are off limits, they're very good at following instructions.
Good. That is what we need to hear here in the studio.
Absolutely. You can definitely, they follow Santa's instructions all the time, and so they're very good at doing what they're told.
Did you ever think about making a cat elf or a dog elf for people that have pets?
Oh, wow. That's such a good question. I would have to talk to Santa Claus about that. The elves are real and they come alive with that Christmas magic. And so certainly the elves can watch pets. Currently, we've heard lots of stories of families who have pets and their elves are watching their pets. But you do want to make sure, or the elf wants to make sure it doesn't hide in a spot where a pet can eat it, because that just never goes well. We hear elf emergency ER stories all the time about elves having to go back to the ER because they've been bitten by a dog or cat. So
well,
that's the only thing you have to be a little bit careful of.
Yeah, that's not good at all. Nope, not good. Costing money.
Exactly. Yeah. And, yeah, it's just, who wants to get eaten up by a dog or cat? So we have heard some really great stories about that, though, at the North Pole. People call us and they tell us that their elf was watching their dog or cat and got into a little bit of a rumble. And so we hear great stories. We've heard of children who are taking their one little boy took like masking tape or something like that and put an area on the floor because you can't touch the elf or his magic might go. So he cordoned off an area where the pets were not allowed to go. And then of course the elf flew back to Santa. He got some treatment at the ER, probably some cinnamon or some hot cocoa, some peppermint. And he was good to go. He was back the next day.
Well, that is good to hear. The ER, they fix everything.
They really do, especially in Santa's ER. All that Christmas magic. He can do some amazing things.
Yeah. So does your elf have any traditions for Christmas Eve? Any special things that the elf might do?
That's a great question, too. So, our elf always brings a pair of pajamas on Christmas Eve. And so that's always been fun for our family, and ornament. We have a Christmas cookie decorating contest every year where the family, everyone in the family has to participate, and you have to decorate a cookie. And then there's a big voting on Facebook between family and friends on, who everybody thinks has the best cookie. And then there's a tasting contest. It turns into a whole big thing. But the elf is very much a part of that because whoever's cookie wins, half of it gets left for the elf to eat on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
So it is a lot of fun, and it's quite an adventure. But, the elves just become such a member of your family, and it's the joy that it brings for all the days leading up to Christmas is just something that money can't buy, really and truly.
Exactly, yeah. It's so true. Like I said, Lala has one, and that, comes every night, and I didn't ask her if he gets into trouble or anything, but I know her son, absolutely loves when he, shows up, and in the morning time, waking up and seeing where he's at.
Right, and I think that's the key, is that, our elf isn't terribly adventurous. He flies back and forth to the North Pole. But to my daughter and my son, the memories that they are making and how much that elf means to them is just as valuable as some of, the crazy, fun elf antics we see too. So I think that's the key to all of it, right? I think any good tradition should be about how a family wants to celebrate it. And the elves are really good at figuring that out and matching that personality of the family. But it really is such a magical time. Seeing those kids get so excited. We hear about them all year. I mean, the engagement even on our social pages of, children is just off the charts year round. What is my elf doing? How are they? Please tell them I said hi. And parents too. So we're really fortunate to get to be the voice of Santa Claus on the North Pole for people.
Very cool. And at what age does Elf, move on to another family, that might be younger or, might need another family to adopt? Right.
So that's a great question. So typically I tell people, you're never too old or too young for a tradition. And so our elf Bisbee came all the way through high school, came all the way through college, came all the way through engagements and all of that stuff. So typically an elf stays with its family until maybe you get married and it goes with you and you have children and start your own family. So usually it's passed down from generation to generation. So they usually stay within the same family. And then, of course, at the North Pole, they can always get assigned a new job within the realm of scout elfdom if it is time to retire, if the family doesn't have any more children or there's no one to be passed on to. Sometimes they get assigned new jobs at the North Pole that are also super cool.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Chanda, for calling in today.
Oh, thank you so much. What a pleasure. This is such a treat for me, and I really appreciate your support. I'm so glad you guys were able to adopt an elf.
Yes, we are so excited, and she's going to have such a good home here, and I'm going to be posting all the trouble that she gets into on our Instagram, so if anybody wants to check that out, just follow us on Instagram, and it's at Shawna and Lala, and our Facebook page, and we are actually giving away a Letters to Santa kit. So if anybody wants to try and win one, just go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Shawna and Lala. All the information is there. And check out the video, too, the music video for Scout Elves Don't Rest. It is very cute, and I think everyone is going to love it.
Thank you so much. You guys are just great. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us be a part of your holiday celebration, kicking off the holidays.
Yes, we're so excited. And we have a Product of the Week segment. I don't know if you know about it, but we review different products. And we have so many, here in the studio, that our studio is just totally full. So hopefully
awesome.
Cindy Lou, she might check out some products during the night.
I love that. Well, you'll have to let me know if there's any winners among them. I love that. Sounds like a lot of fun for an elf.
Yes. So she's going to be very busy. I can tell you that.
It sounds like it. Yeah, how fun. Well, thank you guys seriously so much for letting me be a part of this. I appreciate it. And I'm glad Cindy Lewis found such a good home.
Yes, we are too. Thank you so much again. And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Yes, have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.